Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good day, depends where you are. I'm Frank from CA, and I'm part of the customer success team for the EMEA region. And beside other duties, I recently started a series of so-called product management briefings. Many of you might know about or took part in our surveys. There are product-related ones, and others are more general topics. But through our customer insight surveys, many of you provided us feedbacks on how we can improve your experience with us and our solutions. We and my team went through hundreds, probably thousands of comments. And among other topics, one feedback was we as CA do not communicate well recent development of our products. We do not provide product roadmaps and directions, development plans in time. I'm not talking about enhancements that have been built into our products, new functions and features. So the CST team is organizing these product management briefing sessions, which in general is a kind of quarterly webcast. The objective is to update you on product futures and also allow to provide feedback. So you get more insights in the future direction of the product, and you can discuss your ideas with product management. That's the reason why we are not using local technical staff to conduct sessions with you, and we have product management to do this. For today, Hila, she's a senior principal product manager for the CA Identity Suite, will talk about CA Identity Suite, the main concept, then doing a review of the release 14, followed by a demo, and finally she will present next step, what's beyond release 14. At the end, we will open for a Q&A session. A strong partnership is built on open dialogue. These product management briefings are part of this dialogue with you, our valued customer. That's the introduction from my side, and now I will hand over to Hila.
Thank you very much, Frank, for the lovely introduction. I do believe in those concepts as well. It's a very strong value for us from a product perspective to have this dialogue and communication with our customers. So we're always happy to hear feedbacks. We've got other engagements happening, such as user groups. There's always we can always find the right channels to communicate and hear feedback from you. So let's get started and start reviewing the topics that we have here on our agenda. First of all, I wanted to share with you what are the main concepts when we develop the Identity Suite. What do we have in mind when we introduce new features or capabilities? So first of all, it's empowering the business. Our business users are very important to us. There was kind of a transition that started a couple of years ago with the Identity Suite, started with the acquisition of IBM Logic and introducing the Identity Portal as part of the suite. We are strong believers in user experience. We believe user experience is key for user adoption of the product and hence better security of your environment. So empowering the business with every tool that we can provide to them, and then easy to use and easy to deploy. Identity management solutions are not very trivial. They're not easy things to develop and to maintain. So we took upon ourselves in the last year the focus of our releases, and it's still a key focus. You're going to see that when I talk about roadmap, is making the solution easy to deploy. So easy to use from a user experience perspective is always key. Anything we develop, we review it from a user experience perspective. And now we started looking at the deployment process and looking after our administrators of the solution, making it easier for them to deploy, to install, to configure, and to maintain. So that was key in the last year, and it continues to be a very key item when we develop additional components. Last but not least, the one-stop shop concept. And it kind of goes back to the user experience as well. we don't want our business users to zigzag between different systems. Where it comes to their identity, to identity access and governance and management, they need to be in one place. That was another key focus and a marquee feature of our last release, which I'm going to talk about today. So that was kind of the main concepts. Now let's see how they are translated into capabilities and features. And on that note, let's review our latest release, which is CA Identity Suite 14. A couple of notes about that release. First of all, it was released at the end of November 2016, so a couple of months ago, I think 3 months almost now that it has been out and is generally available. We kind of aligned the numbers. There was a bit of a jump here. There were different numbers for the components in the product, and now we have aligned. All of the components are CA Identity Suite 14. So Identity Manager, Identity Governance, Identity Portal are all release 14. And the focus of this release was rapid deployment and the one-stop shop. So let's go over those items. Of course, there's many more items. I won't have time to go over all the features and capabilities, but I do want to focus on the key ones, on the marquee features of this release. First one is privileged governance. We've got a privileged access management solution, our CA PAM solution, which is a separate technology, a separate solution from the Identity Suite. And what we've done is we've introduced an integration, an out-of-the-box integration between those two components. So basically today there is a connector that comes with the Identity Suite. It connects to the CA PAM system. And it gives you several capabilities around automated provisioning and deprovisioning of accounts and specific PAM access, being able to do an access request and leveraging the capabilities of the Identity Suite, for example, workflows, risk engine, all of those things in order to do an access request. And of course, one of the very important ones is access certification. So basically, governance for privileged access is critical. That we discovered when we started talking to customers and understanding and learning this field a little bit more, and we understand that this was something that was missing. Now, what we're doing by integrating the components together is giving you governance across all of your solutions in one place in the Identity Suite. So the one-stop shop concept, you shouldn't go to different places in order to perform governance on privileged identities. They should be in one place with the rest of your identities. And as always, it's all about the user experience, which we can provide you the great user experience using the Identity Suite. So I'm kind of going to go today back and forth between features and a demo for each one of the items that I talk about. I won't go into too deep of demos because of time constraints, but at least I want to give you a glimpse into what we've done. So in this environment, let me just refresh it and make sure, yes, the session has died. I'm going to log back in, okay? And in this environment that I have set up, which is, by the way, a virtual environment, we're going to talk about that in a moment, I have integration with our with CA Privileged Access Manager. Okay, so I'm in the Identity Suite now in the portal specifically, and I'm doing an access request. I went into the access request module, and I'm doing a user search to look at one of the users in the system that I want to be requesting access for. So let's pick my user, actually, Hila, from a manager perspective, and I'm going to look at, this is the standard Identity Suite access request view. I'm looking at the current access that we have, and I can look at applications and request additional access. So in the same place where I can request something like Salesforce access, okay, and even in the same access request, I can also request for PAM access now. So I've got my, for example, over here, I just built a couple of rows for Windows Server access and a Unix Server access. Okay, so from over here, I can request for each one of those if I want to, or both of them if I want to. And I'm leveraging the capabilities of Identity Suite. The first one is the fact that I can actually do an access request over here and have it kick off a workflow and someone tracking it and approving it and so on. And the second one is the risk. I don't know if you noticed over here, but a violation and a risk came up over here on this risk meter. because of this privileged access that I'm requesting over here. Okay, so you leverage the capabilities of the risk engine that the Identity Suite offers when you're doing an access request. Okay, so over here I can continue, check out, submit this request. It's either going to go through a workflow or get provisioned immediately into PAM, depending on how you configured your system. And I can do in the same cart, I can add additional access that is not related to PAM access. For example, Salesforce over here, Dropbox, or whatever I want, whatever I configured over here in my entitlements catalog. So that's one aspect of things, doing the access request and then providing automated provisioning and deprovisioning of the access. Next is the certification campaign. So over here you see this icon that shows me that my campaigns are actually overdue over here. That's why I'm seeing this exclamation mark over here. Let me click on it, and I'm seeing a couple of campaigns configured over here. I'm going to click on the first one, which is a PAM user privilege review campaign. So I'm actually looking at PAM privileges, okay? There's a few users I'm looking at. These users are the direct reports. I'm looking at Hila, it's my user once again. And unlike the usual view, which shows me just user and resource or user and role, this one actually shows me the specific PAM objects, for example, a PAM role or a user group. And I'm pretty sure there's a device somewhere. No, I don't have a device here. Okay, so I've got roles, groups, I could have devices, and so on. So I leverage the new user experience that we've introduced over here in the Identity Suite, where I can view everything in one place. I can personalize the experience and select which attributes I want to view over here. I can approve, I can reject. I have the progress bar over here telling me where do I stand at the moment, how do I make my progress with a campaign. I can export the information to Excel and review it as an Excel report, fill it out over there, and then import it back if I want to. Basically, you leverage all the Identity Suite capabilities. This is no different than any other standard campaigns that you can use, that you can perform over here in the Identity Suite. So that's basically the PAM solution that we've introduced. That is its current state, that's its current capabilities, and I'll talk about it in the roadmap, how we're going to proceed and enhance it. Next, let's go into the rapid deployment concept. Okay, and what we've done over there. So the first aspect from a rapid deployment is introduction of a virtual appliance. Now, when I say a virtual appliance, I don't mean just the packaging of it in a virtual appliance. We actually introduced an application which wraps it and provides the administrator with a friendly experience to perform a deployment and basically an installation of the Identity Suite. So using the virtual appliance, you no longer need to do any installations, you don't need to run any scripts, you don't even need to go through any training. Or the training of this that we will provide from our education is going to be like a half-an-hour session. There's not much to learn about the actual deployment with virtual appliance. The thing is, it comes pre-integrated and pre-configured with all of the components inside it. So basically, all you need to do, and you've got a bit of a screenshot over here, is drag and drop the components you want to deploy, and I'll show you a demo in a moment, and deploy it, and then you're going to get an environment that is basically ready to go. Okay, just use it and start developing your scenarios or your use cases. It also comes with predefined recommendations for production deployment. Basically, it's going to give you a solution that's up and running in minutes. Now, I've got a lot more to say about that, but I'm actually going to go to a demo straight away because the demo of the deployment will take about 10 minutes, so I want to be able to show it to you all the way. So let me go back to my browser. What I've done is I've got a VMware running on my own laptop over here, and I've extracted the OVA file, okay, which is basically a packaged file of the full solution of the Identity Suite. I started it, I gave it a host name, I gave it an IP address, and that's where I stopped. I can't continue. It told me, okay, now you need to browse to that IP address. So I went over here to the browser, and I just entered the IP address. This is the IP address I gave my machine, or it actually got it automatically from DHCP. And then I get to this login screen. Now, when I started up my OVA file, it gave me the original config user, and then I had to reset the password over there and give it my own password, so I did that, and now I log in with this user. So this is my first run. That's why it's giving me recommendations for the different deployment types that I want to use, whether it's a demo environment, a custom environment, or production, different production types of environments, dev, QA, prod. I'm going to select this environment over here, the demo environment, for our demo purposes because it's the easiest. It gives me the recommendations of the amount of memory and CPU that I need. And it just dumps all of the services that I have, the portal, the manager, the governance, provisioning, connector server, and so on, including an internal database, all over here in one place. But I can play around with it. I can drag and drop, for example, I don't want to deploy identity governance. Let's drag it out of here. I could extract another OVA file, give it an IP address, and add another machine over here. And then I'll just have another box, and I can drag and drop more components into it. So this way I can get high availability. Okay, so I just build another machine over here, drag and drop the same components, okay, and when I'm ready, I click on deploy. I'm going to kick this off and continue talking because I kind of want this to start running, okay? So I can basically select whatever combinations that, around here that I want. I don't have to put everything in one box. I can have separation if I want, spin up one box and just drag and drop Identity Manager components if I want, and then spin up another one and drag and drop portal components if I want to. That's not a problem. Or I can do that in order to spin up high availability environment and basically generate replication between the two solutions. What you see right now is the system is starting to initialize. It's going to take a few minutes, probably around between 10 to 15 minutes on my lazy laptop for it to initialize and start deploying the components that I've selected. Let me go back to my presentation and let it run for a little bit. Okay, so talking about our benefits, what did we gain out of it? First of all, we're lowering licensing costs. And why do we do that? Because you actually get from us a packaged solution. So you get from us a solution that is deployed on an operating system, which is a Linux system. It's a CentOS. You get from us an application server, which is a WoW client, and you get from us a directory for the user store, which is CA directory. So everything comes prepackaged out of the box. It's reducing your services cost because you no longer need to install anything, and your upgrades and patches are much easier now because you don't have to worry about running installers on each one of the components that you have in your environment, okay, and worrying about compatibility and steps that you need to perform and so on. You just run a command line for a patch that you download from us, from the support site, run that on each one of the virtual appliances instances that you have, and that's it. Once again, in a few minutes, you have everything upgraded. Okay, and that really helps us in upgrade processes, which can be painful. So our goal is for you to have as little downtime as possible, okay, and the ability to upgrade fast, which means we want you to upgrade. We deliver better features, better capabilities with every release that we have, and we want our customers to be always on the latest release. So as much as possible, making it easier for you to upgrade. Lowering our DevOps costs because now it's easier to maintain the systems from a couple of perspectives. First of all, you're going to see that when the virtual appliance is finished with the deployment, you're going to see centralized place where you can monitor your environment. You get from us, this is Linux, so you get from us a lot of aliases on your environment, which help you reach your logs or compress your logs and send them to us much easier. So your logging is easier over here, your monitoring is easier. The support is easier because when you reach out to support with any issue you may have, they know your environment. Because now we know exactly how your environment is deployed. We just need the version of the virtual appliance that you have. Support can very easily spin up a machine that looks exactly like yours, and it's easier for them to replicate any issue that you potentially have. So we're looking at increased supportability, and customer satisfaction when using our virtual appliance. So that's virtual appliance. I'm going to let it continue running. Let's take a look at the progress of it. Okay, still initializing the component, so I'm going to go back to our presentation over here. Okay, let me look at the next slide. All right, we're going to continue talking about rapid deployment, and this time Deployment Express. So what is Deployment Express? We talked about virtual appliance. Virtual appliance brings me to a point where I have the solution installed and integrated. All of the components are integrated, they're ready to go. I basically have a UI where I can log in, my users can log in, but they don't have any use cases configured over there. Okay, and what are use cases? I'm going to elaborate in a bit, but basically they are your business processes. So they are the specific customer, each one of you on the call, you have your own business processes running. So when we do a project with you, our architects usually sit down with you, analyze the solution you have today, analyze the business processes, and start developing those business processes for you. Now, we're reducing the time it takes for you to get to a build solution by giving you a marketplace of use cases. So our services and pre-sales people from the field sat down and developed a bunch of use cases. Okay, and they're going to continue developing and continue enhancing that repository of use cases. So they build use cases based on their experience from the field working with our customers. And they build them in a best practices form, the way that we want you to deploy those use cases, which means we're giving you a place where you can browse for those use cases and run through a really easy process where in a couple of clicks you're going to deploy the use case. With our best practices, okay, which really reduces the time that you get to a fully deployed solution. Okay, you might still, we're giving you the ability to do some tweaks to the use cases, okay, but we want to bring you to a point where you're using our streamlined best practices use cases. This is going to give you better value and, again, improve our supportability and your satisfaction with the solution. Now, before I go into a demo, I want to explain what is a use case. When I say use case or a business process, what do I mean? So a use case is something, for example, a create user, okay? But a create user for you could be a create employee or a create contractor. And it could be a create contractor by a manager or a create contractor by a manager with two-step approval process. Or a create contractor by a manager with a two-step approval process and a specific business logic around it. So those things are use cases in their permutations or variations of a use case. And they are constructed of many elements. So what I just described in that example potentially has an approval workflow, or no approval workflow, or two-step approval workflow. It potentially has notifications. Emails of a user, a password to the requesting user, to the manager, and so on. It could have escalation in the workflow. Who is allowed to perform it? Who do you expose it to? All users, managers, admins? Do you put any forms on it? Or maybe this is an automated process without a form. What is the business logic behind it? If it's a create user, do you want to do generate user ID? If it's a contractor, maybe you want to set an end date. Do we schedule it? Is it an automated system, for example, a feed, something that runs nightly or every couple of hours, or is it something that someone actually performs? Do we have any risks that you want to set on that process? For example, if it's a contractor, maybe he's starting off with a risk score, for example. So many things, many elements, many decisions, and all of those together are what we call a use case and its different variations. So this is all translated eventually to a create contractor by a manager, by legal, by help desk, or a terminate contractor on end date, by a user automatically from a feed, and so on. All of those things become the different use cases and their different variations. Now, in the marketplace, which you see a screenshot of right now, this is where we expose those use cases, all right? So you can come over here now and browse use cases that create contracted by manager, the customer self-registration, the terminate on end date. All of those are now use cases that are available to you in this one place, which is, by the way, I'm saying a marketplace, but it's not something you need to buy or anything. It's a marketplace experience, okay? Deployment Express is part of the new administrative interface of the Identity Suite. Okay, so it's something that you get from us. It's not an additional component that you need to buy or deploy. At this stage, I'd like us to do a demo, but I don't know if the virtual appliance completed. Let's see. It hasn't completed, it's still working, but let's take a look at it and what's happening over here. So all of the components have been initialized. Dependencies that are required have been completed. So, for example, Identity Manager needs a database. So until the database completes and is started, then Identity Manager is not going to start. And Identity Portal is the final component that has dependencies on other components, so that's why you see that one starting as the last one. So it's still working, so to not waste time, I'm not going to wait for that one to complete. We're going to possibly come back to it in a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the environment that you've seen before, which is the environment that is already deployed. Okay, so from over here, I'm going to go to the admin interface of it to show you the business user experience. I hope I remember the password for it. That would be, all right, I remember the password, beautiful. Okay, so this is how the new admin interface looks like. You can go from here to the standard or in-depth admin UI, or you could go to the Deployment Express Marketplace. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, and this is this marketplace that you've seen in the screenshot. I can see kind of categories here or filtering objects for the use cases that I have, and over here below we see the actual list of use cases. Okay. So at the moment there are 15 use cases over here, but there are actually more in the online repository. So the repository is available online, and you can always go to it and update the repository to have the latest version available for you over here. Okay? So I'm looking at an actually a little bit older version of the repository from, I think, about a month ago. So there's more use cases in it today. So I can filter over here, for example, click on contractor because I want to see what are the available contractor use cases that I have. I can filter more by looking at the create, okay? And you can see over here, for example, the create contractor by manager use case, which is already deployed. It has a flag over here. I've got a video I can watch about this use case, or I can go into more details here and also download documentation that is available about this use case. And that's going to give me a walkthrough of the use case, details of what can I change in this use case, and so on. So it's information both for, let's say, the stakeholders or the business to know what this use case is and is it suitable for me in order to evaluate it. And it's also information for the administrator to know how we can modify this use case afterwards and change it. Okay, let me go back to my virtual appliance, a quick pause over here, back here to see, all right, beautiful, the deployment has completed, and it took about 9 minutes. Great. So let's actually, I'm going to drop the other screen, and I'm going to show you how it looks like from the perspective of a clean environment. So this is a dashboard for monitoring that I told you about from the virtual appliance discussion, okay? And over here I can see each one of the systems, are they running properly? Are there any more dependencies over here? Is something down? Why is it down, and what is the error message? I can always connect to the actual server and run more commands to look at my log and monitor my system further. From here, I can also actually directly log in or access the portal, for example. So let's take a look at the user console. Okay, and over here I can log right into it. So at the moment, I only have one user in the system, so it's my IAM admin user. Okay. And I log in with that one. Okay, and you see it's quite an empty one. It's not like the demo that I showed you, which is an environment with use cases already deployed to it. But let's actually see how we deploy use cases from a clean environment. So I'm going to open up the management console and go to the marketplace, okay? You see I've got a little bit more use cases over here. There's 17. And go once again to the contractor create and do a deployment of the create contractor by manager. So I can just click on deploy. By the way, I can compare use cases and see what the differences are between them in order to identify the one I want to select. And when I click on deploy, it takes me through a quick wizard, basically asking me, so in what name do you want to deploy this use case? Because maybe I want to change the name. And where do you want to create it, in which module? So basically here, what you see over here are modules, which we're going to start building up. So it's recommending to me to build a new module called team management. Okay, so let's continue with that, with the team management module. I'm going to click on next. It shows me all the elements it's about to deploy. Remember my slide that showed you the various elements, workflows, screens, business logic, policies, and so on. All of those are the elements that are about to be deployed, and over here you can actually review them one by one if you want. Click on next, and I can select a workflow. Now workflows are templates that I can deploy as well. I haven't deployed any workflows because this is a clean environment, so that's why we're not seeing anything over here. But we can also deploy workflows before we get started with the use case. And then click on next, and basically wrap up, click on deploy. It's going to deploy the use case to the Identity Suite. When it's done the deployment, it's going to create the new module that I've asked, the team management one, and then it's going to link the use case to the module. Click on done, and click on confirm over here. This is going to restart my connectors to expose this information now in the portal to the end user. Okay? Okay, restart has completed. Let's go back now to the user interface and refresh the screen and see if I have the new module. So I'm actually not seeing the new module. Why am I not seeing it? Let's go back over here and go to the actual admin UI. You can either click on here or go back to this main screen and go to the admin UI. The admin UI has changed as well with this release and is a much more simplified experience. So I won't go into too many details over here. I just want to show you one thing. This is how I manage my modules now. So I've got the home and the team management. This is the new one that was just created. Let's go into team management. Main difference now in the new interface is that everything is done from this one place, from this module, and you don't have to go to the specific elements to build the components in your module. So if I look at the profile to see who is allowed to see team management module, I see that it's exposed only to managers. Now, the IAM admin over here is not a manager, so I'm just going to expose this to everyone for the demo purposes and click on Save. And let's go back over here and refresh my screen. And now I have the team management module exposed to me. I'm allowed to see it. So let's go into team management module, which is part of my use case. It was deployed as well. But my use case was actually a create new contractor. So click over here. And here's the use case, create contractor. It's not actually the use case. This is just the form of the use case. The use case is a lot more than that. The use case is the form. The use case is the attributes that you see over here. It's the workflow if I deployed any workflow. It's the business logic behind it. There's business logic here that generates a full name, that generates a password, that generates a user ID, that sends an email notification to the user, and so on. There's a lot of logic around this use case, which is deployed as well as part of it. So this is the Deployment Express basically in a nutshell. And then I can go back over here, go back to the marketplace of use cases, and I can continue and deploy more and more use cases. And in minutes, I have an environment that's rich with use cases, and all I have to do afterwards is continue enriching it with customer-specific data. For example, maybe you want to change the email notification that we send. Maybe you want to change the logic of how we build, how we generate the user ID. So those kinds of things, you can now go ahead and change them in the system. All right, let me go back into my presentation. And basically, this completes our overall review of Identity Suite 14. Once again, this is not all of the features. This is just the marquee features, the key features of that release. To kind of summarize how deployment now in production is so close, closer than ever, and it's much faster to get to it, and it's much easier to maintain it. and to upgrade it. It's much faster now to get your environment up and running. It's easier to deploy it. It's easier to maintain it. And it's a joyful experience. It's much nicer now to manage and maintain our Identity Suite solution. All right, so this is a review of what Identity Suite 14 looks like today and what we've introduced in it. Let's take a look at a little bit of a future and the direction. Now, when I say looking towards the future, I want to emphasize over here, I'm not talking about specifically our next release. Some of the items I'm talking about will be in the next release, but not all of them. I'm looking about towards the future. This is our next 2-3 releases as well, okay? From an analytics perspective, I haven't mentioned analytics because analytics is not a new feature in 14. We've actually introduced an analytics dashboard in 12.6.8, which we plan on enhancing in our near future. So we want to introduce additional modules for our analytics dashboard. The first one is an actionable dashboard for certifications management. So we want to give a place for our compliance managers to be able to look at the dashboards and get an overview of what's happening in the system today. What's the status of the progress of the campaigns, make it actionable so they can send emails to specific users. They'll be able to see users and their progress, and if their progress is not sufficient enough, being able to email them or escalate their actions. We want to introduce actionable dashboards for a closed loop. So for the revocations process, it's a continuation of the certifications management. So being able to see when campaigns are completed and there were revocations in them, so how are we now actually confirming that revocation was done? So you ask to revoke an access. Is it actually revoked? So being able to get a glimpse into that behavior. Behavior analytics. So in CA security business units, there's a new product called CA Threat Analytics, which is part of an acquisition and is now part of, it's an integrated solution in CA. We've already introduced integration for PAM. The Privileged Access Manager already has integration with Threat Analytics. The CA single sign-on component, the product is in the process of going through integration steps as well, and Identity Suites will be part of it in the future too. So we're going to look at more behavioral analytics with that, showing risky areas and drill down into risky users and having actionable dashboards over there as well. So that's the vision with threat analytics going forward. Virtual Appliance, which I have introduced to you today. So we're going to be looking at rapid deployment with Virtual Appliance. First of all, introducing more cloud infrastructure for our Virtual Appliance. Today, it's only available on VMware. So we're going to introduce support for Amazon AWS, Azure is on the roadmap as well, and additional marketplaces. We're going to be looking at enhancements that are more relevant for large and government customers, for example, FIP support, which exists for the solution, for the product, but it doesn't exist for the Virtual Appliance today, okay? And we're going to be looking at try and buy capabilities for the Virtual Appliance so that customers could try the solution before they actually use it. By the way, today, our customers, if you have a license for the full Identity Suite, then today you can download the Virtual Appliance. So you can download it, you can install it the same way I did a demo today. It's on my laptop. You can deploy it and install it on your laptop and kind of play around with it and experience the benefits of the Virtual Appliance. Rapid deployment with rapid time to value with Deployment Xpress, so continued enhancements over there. First of all, we're going to continue to expand the user repository, so the use case repository of the solution. So we always have ongoing development of more and more use cases. Continue to collect input from the field. So it would be great to get input from our customers, from you guys as well, regarding the use cases that we have over there, and maybe things that you think are missing and should be added. We plan on developing this into a community so that people can see reviews about a use case, see popularity, and see find authors. So basically being able, and that's kind of going to the next one, crowdsourcing of use cases. We want to be able to share use cases so that partners, services, customers can share use cases in the community, and you'll be able to see, of course, who is a signed author and who is not. And being able to, if I'm continuing with the crowdsourcing of use cases, being able to build a private marketplace. I guess this is more relevant to our partners that want to be able to share their own experience, maybe without sharing it with global community. From a privilege governance perspective, we're going to continue doing work and enhancements over there. Now that it's being used, there's feedback from the field, there's feedback from customers. Then we are able to identify more and more capabilities that we want to add. Some of that is enhancing our governance capability with additional information that we expose, like last used access and violation information that we can get from PAM, information regarding specific target accounts that we have in PAM, getting additional business value by getting more deeper information and deeper and indirect access support for the certification campaign, introducing analytics for PAM, and an application launcher in the future, hopefully. So you'll be able to not just request the access for Identity Suite, but also actually launch your, let's say it's a root or shell access to a Unix server, and you want to be able to trigger that and run it from directly from the suite instead of logging into PAM. So we want to try and minimize as much as possible the business users' access to or interface with PAM directly, so they'll be able to do everything from the Identity Suite. That is overall a review of our current solution, an overview of it, and a bit of a glimpse into the roadmap. Once again, same disclaimer as I said for the current solution. There's more things we developed and I didn't share over here. There's more things in the roadmap. There's a lot more work around our connectors, our architecture, our platform support matrix, our 508 compliance work that we're going to be doing. There's more things that we're doing. What I've emphasized over here is kind of the marquee feature and the key focus of our solution. So this concludes it from my end. I think we should be having questions. I don't know if we have any questions that have come up. Frank or Chris can share that with us. Do we have any? I think, guys, you can share questions on the chat window of the WebEx. I'm also looking at it as well. I have access to it. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to share it or ask the questions through the chat window of the WebEx.
Yeah, Frank, I think you're still on mute. Do you want to go through the questions?
Yeah, on unmute, we have a couple of questions. Some of them are from Scott Pierce. One deals with virtual appliance, and then will FIP security for virtual environment will be available. I've seen this of one of the slides, but I'm not sure if it answers your question. And the next question was, can root access be made available for the virtual environment?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and repeat again to make it clear regarding FIP. So there is FIP compliance for the Identity Suite itself, but not for the virtual appliance. So if you want to go in the virtual appliance path, it's not available today. It is on our roadmap, okay? We are going to get them. We are going to perform it, but it's not available today, and it's not in our next release. So at the moment, we're looking at the release following after that. But of course, I can't commit to any dates or timeline at the moment. Regarding the second question was around root access. So the simple answer is no, but let me give you a broader answer and also the rationalization behind it. So the idea is with a virtual appliance that you have a solution that is easy to maintain, easy to support, and easy to upgrade. Now, if we give you full root access and you can do whatever you want with the virtual appliance, then it'll be very difficult for us to support you. It'll be very difficult for us to upgrade you in an easy way. So what we've done is we've limited the root access. You don't have root access to the server, but we're giving you every tool that you need in order to perform the actions that are required for you to maintain and develop your solution. And if there's anything that you need to do and you don't find it available to you or you're not able to do, then reach out to us and we'll make sure that it's added to the solution and that you are able to perform it. So let me give you a couple of examples. For example, there's changes that, for example, that you need to do in order to spin up a DR solution. We're going to make sure that, and then you need access to certain files that you need to update. So we're going to make sure that the config user has access to those files and that you can modify those files. Okay? This way we know that when we upgrade, we know those files have possibly been modified. Another example, if you have customizations in your solution, they're perfectly fine, they are okay. You wrote custom code, you wrote LAHs, BLTHs, event listeners, it's all good. We just need to make sure that they are placed in a certain location on the virtual appliance, which is the location for all our custom code, so that when we upgrade you, we know how to upgrade that particular folder and transform it to the next release. So we're going to give you everything you need in order to maintain the solution without giving you root access. And if there's any specific capability that you need and you don't find, then you reach out to us and we'll make sure that we'll either explain to you how you can perform it or we'll enhance the solution to make sure that you can have that ability as well. Any more questions?
Rex is asking for an URL to download the virtual appliance.
So if you go to the support site, the CA support site, and you go to download the Identity Suite, wherever you started place where you used to go and download Identity Suite. So it's basically on the support site, in the, not the knowledge base, the other one, the products. Let me actually show you that. So I'm going to go to support.ca.com. And then over there where you see the standard installation files, you're also going to find, if you have license for CA Identity Suite, then you're also going to find the virtual appliance over there. Okay? So over here where you go to the download center and to download products, okay, over here you go and you search for the CA Identity Suite and you'll find it over there. If you're only licensed to Identity Manager or Identity Governance, you're not going to find it. You need to upgrade to the full Identity Suite.
Hila, I'm afraid we didn't see your screen. I still see the disclaimer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I paused, you're right. I paused my
there you go.
sharing. So basically I went to the support site, support.ca.com, and after my login, this is the page that I get. And over here you go to the download center and download products, and over here you're going to get a little bit different view than mine because I have access to all of the products. You're only going to see the products that you're licensed to, okay? And over here you're just going to see the CA Identity Suite, select the latest version, release 14, and you're going to see in the results when you click on Go, standard installer files and also the virtual appliance. So it's basically a way, it's not a new product, it's a way for you to install the Identity Suite. So you don't need additional license to it, you don't need to pay extra for it, you just need to be on the license of the Identity Suite.
Then there's a question regarding governance Minder, support of certification of IDM groups. Will we make it available?
Portal certification of IDM groups?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've received that request. I know it's not available today. It is on our roadmap to expand the capabilities of identity governance and support certification of additional objects. Admin roles are one of them as well. So today you can certify admin roles or IDM groups. They are on our roadmap to do certification for them as well.
Is there a way to integrate the Identity Suite with an already existing user repository, say AD?
Is there a way? Can you please repeat that?
To integrate the Identity Suite with an existing user repository.
So the answer is yes and no. Theoretically, yes. If you use our standard installation, if you use Identity Suite 12.6, X, or 14, we support different user repositories. So yes, you can use your own user repository, whatever LDAP or database that we support, or Active Directory even, you can use that. But if you use that, you're not going to leverage the strengths and capabilities of Identity Suite 14. One of them is the virtual appliance, because the virtual appliance must be, the virtual appliance comes with a CA directory, and specifically with our directory and schema. And the Deployment Express, you won't be able to enjoy that. So in order to enjoy Deployment Express, you can enjoy that without the virtual appliance if you use standard installation as well. It will work, but when you select the standard installation, there's an option there today to install an environment out of the box. And when you install an environment out of the box, you get a user store from us, a directory from us, and all of that. The reason you need that is because if Deployment Express comes with pre-built use cases, and the use cases are based on attributes and information that we need to know about, it means that we need to know your schema. And in order for us to know your schema, it needs to be a schema that we built. And we do provide an out-of-the-box directory, so we're leveraging that one, the CA directory, which is a very robust directory. So what we recommend our customers is use the out-of-the-box environment, use the out-of-the-box user store, the one that we provide, and use the other corporate repository you have today as an endpoint. That is our recommendation. You don't have to. Okay, that's why I'm saying it's yes and no. It's really something that during a project with you guys, you need to sit with our consultants. Let's understand why. Why do you want to use AD, for example, as your user store for Identity Manager? Okay, it's possible. You can do that. I don't recommend it. I would ask you to go in a different path. But that's specific per customer to understand the requirements.
There's another question regarding Active Directory integration. The question is, if you go this way, do you need Windows with a connector server installed?
Yeah, so very good question. Thank you for that. I missed that topic, so thank you for reminding me. As this customer probably, and you guys probably noticed, the virtual appliance is deployed on Linux server. And yes, Active Directory is actually a C++ connector. It's not a Java connector, which means that it needs to be installed on a Windows server. So what you do need to do, if you have Active Directory, and we do anticipate most of our customers to have Active Directory as an endpoint, you still need, on top of the virtual appliance, you're going to need another server, which is a Windows server. And over there, you'll need to deploy the connector server. What we do provide you is if we go to the virtual appliance and over here go to external tools, okay, you're going to find the Windows remote connector server. So basically, it's all the tools that you need for a Windows operating system, okay? So very easy process over here. You just download the package from us, install and run it on a Windows server, follow the instructions over here, and you're going to get all of the Windows components that you need to install remotely. You're going to get those from us, and in a quick and easy deployment as well. Okay? So it's not going to be a painful process. It's very easy. It just, yes, for the C++ connector to work, you need to install it on a separate server.
Then we have a question regarding the virtual appliance support. Is there a multi-site failover?
Yes. So we do support multi-sites. To support the failover, you'll need to work with our services, and they are working in providing documentation for the methodology and the approach for setting up a DR, basically, setting up failover with our virtual appliance. It's not going to be too far from what we do today with the Identity Suite, but it's going to be done with a virtual appliance. So I do recommend for that one reaching out to services, and they are developing the documentation for that.
Regarding try and buy, is there a time frame for a trial when you want to test it, or?
So there is, as I said, try and buy was on our roadmap. It's not available today, so you can't test it today. We can't provide you a trial version. What I do recommend for you, if you want to try it out, if you want to see it, is reaching out to sales, to the account team, or to Frank. I don't know if Frank would be able to tell us who's the best person to talk to, and we'll be able to arrange a demo, a POC, and show you the solution. But we don't have a trial version at the moment yet. This is our roadmap goal to have it.
And then we have a question how custom connectors can be created and deployed.
So this is not related to the virtual appliance or anything I talked about today. You continue doing that in the standard way. The way to build custom connectors is using our Connector Xpress tool and the SDK that is provided with the solution. So no changes there.
So I hope I got most of the questions that have been raised so far, but we will go through the list and provide additional answers or reach out to the people who submitted the questions. As we are close to the hour, and then probably we are running out of the time, or you might have a tight schedule. So first of all, I want to thank Chris for setting this up and providing all the infrastructure, and especially many thanks to Hila for walking us through the Identity Management Suite, the current release 14 and then beyond. And then I want this to become a kind of regular event, so I encourage you to provide us your feedback. Chris set up a short one-question survey, so provide us feedback also via the communities, via email, or reach out to your CA representative. Currently, I'm planning to ramp up the next Identity Management Suite product management briefing maybe in the May timeframe. So we'll keep you posted and watch out for the next invite. Hila, do you have anything to say to close?
Just to say thank you to everyone. It's been my pleasure, and I really hope that we can turn this into a regular process and have that communication line open with you guys. So thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for your time and participation.